Welcome to Season 3 and the first edition of Monday Night Smite. And we're starting things off with Europe.
The World Champion region going to find two SWC contenders facing off in the premier matchup, I'd say, for this week. Although FNATIC, a little bit shaky. They actually faced off against Dignitas already. This will be Paradigm's first showing.
Well, let's have a look at those standings right now. You can see how the game's worked out. You can see FNATIC and Dignitas tied at 4th and 3rd at the moment with that 1-1 result there. Obviously, we've not seen Paradigm play yet. This will be their first outing. Cringe Crew haven't played just yet either. They'll get their first action next week. But we're here today for FNATIC versus Paradigm. And as you were saying, bit of a shaky start for FNATIC.
Really shaky. We actually saw their two newest members face off, Jifffy and BigManTingz, and it really seemed like nerves were affecting Jifffy.
And that can happen, you know?
Yeah.
It can happen in the early stages of the games. They're against Dignitas as well, who, on paper, everyone expected them to beat. Dignitas had a very good performance for themselves as well. No discredit to them whatsoever. But coming into this one, they've got tough opposition today, have FNATIC. Their two newest members have to go against, let's be honest, the initiators and mostly shot callers of this team in Trixtank and QvoFred. They're direct counter matchups.
And I'm looking at BigManTingz and Trixtank directly. We know that Trixtank is that super aggressive support, right? He's willing to play the Warriors, which have been doing pretty good here in Season 3. He's the ones that's going to play the Bacchus, and Trixtank and Funballer, they want to fight you, right? And Realzx, a lot of times, he kind of just wants to sit back and farm. So I'll really have to see how BigManTingz plays this direct matchup.
Realzx will definitely be more calculated about whether he will go aggressive or not, but I expect to see Trixtank and Funballer really look to the dual lane of FNATIC here and look for early aggression to see if they can find a weakness in BigManTingz and Realzx combination together. Meanwhile, QvoFred, well, he's going to do his thing with Lawbster in the mid lane, and it's going to be about what Jifffy and Zyrhoes do to combine, because we know Zyrhoes is very safe in the mid lane, as is Lawbster, both seasoned veterans, I want to say. But with the rookie coming in from the jungle, can Qvo make an impact for Paradigm?
And can Jifffy, you know, kind of play the aggressive tendencies that we're normally used to, or at least that we had heard about? You know, coming in, it was Jifffy is this very aggressive, adapting level mechanical player, maybe not the same decision making. That was kind of his weakness. So, you know, maniaKK, or excuse me, most of FNATIC was actually trying to reel him back in, make sure he didn't go a little bit too aggressive. But up against Dignitas, he seemed to be a non-factor, just no presence on the map, really camping mid lane with Zyrhoes, but not really utilizing his Thor to his benefit. But we'll have to see, and we're going to be getting into picks and bans for the first match. It's going to be Paradigm taking on FNATIC. FNATIC is first pick.
Now, for the regular season of last season, FNATIC did 4-0 Paradigm for you guys at home through the regular season. However, LAN was a different story. Paradigm ended up coming first out of the region of Europe and going to World Championships as the #1 seed after defeating FNATIC, which they weren't expected to do, especially after falling 4-0. Will this new roster of FNATIC work out? Picks and bans coming through. Isis and Neath immediately banned away.
Early game is being targeted from both sides, you can tell. Neath, a pick that FNATIC has utilized very well over the past year. Not only in the Hunter role for Realzx, but also Zyrhoes very strong on this god in the mid lane. So
both
a smart ban.
Both the mid lanes happy to play Hunters in this mid lane. Ul, Chiron, as well as Neath have all picked
that's
up
so
in
much
Europe.
Ul's a lot of that's the ranked one. We haven't seen it. We've seen, I
it.
think, Lawbster play it twice in Season 2.
Don't be surprised if he pulls it out again or something similar.
It's going to be Soul first picked up. That could go either to the mid or Hunter role for FNATIC.
We
We've
saw
seen them
FNATIC
play
do
both.
that already. Yeah, FNATIC did do that already. Neath was actually picked both games by FNATIC when they played against Dignitas. Don't also take into account as well. They picked Bologna both times as well, did FNATIC for maniaKK over in that solo lane. So we'll see if we see a rinse repeat there. Chronos locked in by Paradigm.
And more than likely going to Funballer, although this is kind of a pick that Paradigm can sit on for now, and there's Bacchus as well. Actually, that's probably the dual
That's
lane.
a dangerous
That
dual
is a
lane.
deadly dual lane, and we've seen this run by Paradigm quite often, right? Trixtank, this is the Guardian that he loves the most, because Bacchus is this very hard initiator. He can go in, he can disrupt the backline, and honestly do a lot of damage. We have seen Trixtank go the penetration boots on Bacchus early, just looking for early kills. And honestly, I bet you we see a gank attempt by Trixtank at level 3.
It sets up the perfect combination from Funballer, though, for a stun and damage output when you hit that belly flop. It's very hard to escape that whatsoever if you do get hit by the knockup. Sol, for example, if she is going to be in that duo lane, can't disapparate when you're in the air, so you're going to take all that damage before you even get into that form anyway.
Athena Chiron going to be locked in for FNATIC, and no hesitation from Paradigm. They're going to be locking in Odin.
That's really well timed, that Odin pick here. Athena has very hard difficulty escaping the ring, has to ult out of it. Chiron cannot escape the ring at all. Chiron really does get hurt and pinned into an awkward position, especially when there's a Bacchus and a Chronos on the table as well. Paradigm's comp is looking good here.
And Paradigm, they're going to be banning away Jiffy's Fenrir, a god that we've seen him play. It'll be interesting to see if they ban away Thor as well. Thor would pair very well with Athena, the kind of the global composition. Instead, it's going to be Hunbat. So Paradigm, it looks like they targeted the mid lane at the start. I do think that Neath ban was for Zyrhoes, and now they are taking away Jiffy's god pool. Uller and Hoyi going to be banned away, knowing that FNATIC have their dual lane.
And that could have been flex for mid lane as well here. We could have seen those two go mid, but it could be for, they believe that Lawbster could be playing that Chronos in mid lane. He's done that plenty of times himself as well. The focus onto Jifffy is the big talking point there, as Vamana gets locked in for Xaliea.
FNATIC looking to respond. They still need a solo laner and jungler, unless they run Athena jungle, but we don't really see too often in Europe. Every once in a while, it seems North America are the teams who really like to run that. And Jifffy will be going back to his Thor. Hopefully he can conquer his demon, the Fire Giant, this matchup. And the last pick will be to maniaKK. I expect a pretty safe god. We could be looking at something...
Oh, no.
Ooh, Ares. So Ares support, Athena solo.
Yeah, I can see that. Athena solo here. Or it could be the solo Chiron. That's an interesting one. I mean, you could technically run solo Chiron in the solo lane up against Vamana. What do you think? It's a very interesting
I'm assuming it's going to be Athena solo, which we've seen quite often. You have the double teleport if you like to go into that. Last pick going to be Raw. That is going to Lawbster. We haven't seen him on this gun in quite some time. But
we've seen a lot of Raw out of Europe, though.
A staple he's gone back to. And Cherry, most notably, I think, really showcasing the power of Raw when you have this setup. And honestly, Trixtank Bacchus, all he needs is one belly flop. You're guaranteeing Raw's ultimate.
Raw is really coming back into the meta over in Europe especially. We've seen so far FNATIC pick it up as well as Cherio on the side of the leftovers. Sorry, of the leftovers. I was going to say Hungry for Mom. I'm like, nope, I was wrong.
They're like the same team.
So we're going to see BigManTingz playing the Ares. It is going to be maniaKK Athena in the solo lane here as well. So Athena up against Vamana. Well, it's going to be a farmer for the most part there. There's no kill potential for maniaKK.
Xaliea is going to be losing, or excuse me, winning very early. maniaKK is going to be pressured out. He simply doesn't have the same amount of clear, and you can see this. maniaKK electing to go into the Vanguard, which we see a lot of times from Guardian solos.
However, look at Xalia's build.
What in the world? Can we highlight that? That's going to be the tank boots picked up for him.
I'm
really surprised about this. I mean, it is a lot of health and physical power early on, but he only has 2 health potions. He will have the blue buff.
So
that's
he's going to have
interesting.
extra mobility, crowd control reduction. He hasn't gone for a relic either, I think is the big talking point. He may want to try and hold that relic if he can and not get teleport. But against an Athena, you really
He'll have to go teleport.
Yeah,
the Athena's going to have the double global if she does go teleport, and she has picked it up. Her ultimate as well, going to really allow maniaKK to kind of spread the map. This is an interesting composition from FNATIC.
Well, basically, what you can see at the start from Paradigm, they want to see if they're going to look for the Harpies in the mid lane here. They're not going to. They've got wards down, have FNATIC. They're going to play this very, very safe. So Paradigm going to abuse the early advantage they have of the Odin and the Vamana to clear up the mid Harpies and head over to the blue.
No invades coming out. A lot of early wards from FNATIC. Paradigm, it doesn't look like they put any out. Weren't too scared of the invade, even against the red pot Thor, knowing that it's an Athena paired with it. Can't be that effective. And now Jifffy, he's going to make a trip over to the mid lane. And it looks like Chiron and Thor will have control of this mid lane.
Feels
early
like
on.
Really big game for FNATIC, this one, especially for their 2 new players, honestly. BigManTingz playing this Ares has a very good matchup against multiple gods on this enemy team if he can get off to a good start. Meanwhile, Thor, pretty good against Ra overall, in all honesty, if he can get the full combo off. There's not a whole lot Ra can do about it. Talking about that, invasion.
Paradigm going to steal one away.
Get it.
There's the dash from Zyrhoes, and an early rotation coming out from BigManTingz. Not going to find anything. Real's left alone, but he should be fine for now. Does need to be careful. There could be a lot of burst if he's not careful, and you can see Trixtank just focusing on clearing that wave for now.
Well, he's only level 2, so he can't get the stun off with his belch at the moment because he would have gone for the burp and the belly flop more than not. Now he's level 3, you'll see him take the chug, and that's when the stun comes into play, and the slow from the belly flop too. So now they can start looking for the aggression at the level 3 mark, especially because Funballer should be 2 points into his damage.
And you can see maniaKK getting pressured out here in the soling. This is what I expect, even though it's a tank boots on the baby. And I think that's one thing, is that Xaliea wanted to go into this, and he knows that maniaKK's not really going to be able to pressure him or poke him in any manner. maniaKK's going to have a lot of trouble
and those tank
early
boots
on, and he's actually taking a lot of poke from the minions.
They do come with a little bit of power on those tank boots too, so it's not all
15.
tanky. Yeah, it's not too bad considering the other stats you get, the 30% crowd control reduction as well, which is going to be helpful against Athena and against the wolves coming out from Jiffy's Thor.
Speaking of Jifffy, left-hand side, you can see Funball smelled it out, though. Actually went into that enclave, noticing the Thor, and he's not going to get too far out of position. Is in range for the stun. Going to take a double tap, but Jifffy
Nice poke.
can't teleport. Honestly, though, he is splitting this wave, which means
And by splitting
the
it,
dual lane is going to be a little bit behind. They're not going to hit 5 as early as Paradigms
well,
will.
that's actually allowed as well as Paradigm. We're looking at doing those back harpies just on the left, but I think they were worried about a potential rotation from the whole team after the pressure there. So instead, Zyrhoes getting some free farm pretty much in that mid lane for that wave, and he's going to get most of this experience solo before Jifffy comes in for the big creep.
He does hit level 5, but without Jifffy being level 5, it's a little bit hard. Look at this, though. Early rotation coming up from Paradigm. QvoFred recognizing nowhere on the map, or the fact that Thor honestly went over to the left-hand side. It's going to allow him pressure into the right-hand side jungle. We'll steal away the back harpies and head over to Fire Elementals as they spawn up.
They're just going to head back to safety now because they did just see Xaliea back there, did Paradigm, so they're not going to risk too much here. There is a little global composition here that we've not really spoken about just yet, but Thor and Athena can combine from 2 different places on the map and just dunk in to the dual lane, potentially for kills.
And I think that's what FNATIC wants. I think they're trying to get to the late game, right? Not only is Athena going to scale very well, but the Ares, honestly, if he can bait out relics in the late game. And then the 2 hunters, innocent. Soul not really a hunter, but very good. Come full build, same with Zyrhoes. Look at this, though.
Jifffy
in a lot of
straight
trouble.
to mid, gonna get walled by Jifffy. The damage didn't really hit there, but that damage is really gonna hit his Qvo. Does get the ring off, and we're gonna see BigManTingz fall down for first blood more than likely here. Goes over to Xaliea, but the return damage from FNATIC is not bad, but they don't find anything in response.
Having a lot of trouble trying to secure those kills. Thor comes dunking down, but first blood picked up. BigManTingz going to fall, and it was on to Xaliea, who's already building into his breastplate. And this is going to be bad, especially considering that Xaliea already had control of this lane, was able to secure the early Harpies. He's going to be out farming maniaKK. You do not want to fed Vamana coming into mid-game, really controlling your team fight, because we have seen these soul laners be 3, 4, sometimes 5 levels above the rest of the team, both opponents and their own.
He's against a magical god here in this lane, and he's not even worried. You can actually see that level 1 taunt coming out from maniaKK, but
That's not even
control
that.
Reduction
It's the CCR.
made an impact there.
The CCR, 30%, going to be very effective against this Athena, who's not going to be leveling her taunt early on. And it's just going to be very hard, honestly, to kill Xaliea.
And he's not, like I said, he's not worried whatsoever in this lane. He's gone for physical protection here and cooldown reduction, instead of even worrying about the magical damage that maniaKK could potentially put out.
QvoFred going to be soaking up this wave. Xaliea was pretty low, not enough mana. He was forced to back. So, oh no, Xaliea stayed. Oh, I thought he had back.
Xaliea stayed.
Got his blue
he
buff.
picks up his blue buff, goes back to lane, picks up the farm. He's got no teleport available right now, so he's just going to make sure he times.
He has his ultimate and blue buff.
window.
He'll be fine. He's not really susceptible to too many ganks unless Jifffy wants to take a trip over.
talking
And he's focused on farming the left-hand side for now.
Talking about builds, you can see at the moment we're going to see Paradigm continue to work theirs up. You mentioned before the game, Trixtank, going for those Medjai's boots on Bacchus for that extra penetration and damage that he can put out, as well as Doommob is now online for Lawbster in the mid lane as well.
I really like what Trixtank has done here. So he's obviously gone the penetration boots. He wants to fight early, and because he knows once he jumps in, he's fully committed. He's actually first picked up the Shell Relic, giving him, I believe it's 45 all projections as well as 15% damage mitigation, not only for him, but for the rest of the team. That's going to be very good when trying to combat the burst coming up from Thor and his Red Pot early on. Red Pot has fallen off by now. And I think Paradigm are going to continue to look to try and pick off BigManTingz. This is one of the biggest weaknesses about Ares, is that if he gets behind early, he doesn't have enough damage, and he actually dies before he even gets his ultimate off. He's not able to burn in any relics. You can see actually most of the purification is down for Paradigm right now, so if FNATIC want to make a move, it's got to be now.
Will they see an opportunity is the question. They're going to contest that ward there, but it's not going to go anyway. But Paradigms for the time being. Talking about Zyrhoes, as we're tuning in with him right now. He did switch up his relic at the start of this game, and I agree with this decision 100%. Went for Sanctuary over getting the purification here. He's got no hard CC to really have to deal with here.
It's Trixtank, knock up, and Funballer time stuff.
He's got Raw Burst from the ultimate coming out, and he's also got the Bird Bomb potentially from QvoFred that he's got to avoid. And that Sanctuary will keep him alive a little bit more.
Honestly, he may not even need to go into purification. There are 2 hard CCs, a sprint. I think that'd be very useful for his team, especially considering BigManTingz has gone into the shell, which means if he wants to go kind of that blink initiation style, he can't go into sprint. You do want it somewhere on your team. It may be maniaKK, but I mean, maniaKK could look to pick up a meditation as well, and I think spreading out those relics and giving your teams more options, as long as he avoids...
Hang on a minute, rinse repeat happening on these right-hand harpies, because Xalia's made a rotation once again, gets poked a little bit at time, but Paradigm do get those right harpies for free.
And it's going to be really hard for BigManTingz to kind of get in here and do what he wants to do without that blink. You can see he's going to be sitting here in the front line. The 3v3 group up has happened. Lawbster going to be fine. And I think Trixtank is kind of just looking for the burst potential he needs. BigManTingz electing to go into boots first, so he has no health, no protections.
Left harpy is going to be started by FNATIC here. BigManTingz on zone duty, but the snipe comes out and takes one of those away. The other one will go the way of FNATIC. They're just about, I believe. So once again, Paradigm win the mid-camp trade. And this reminds me a lot of Season 1 where the mid-camps were always contested.
Neither team wants to give him up right now, and Paradigm just doing a very good job for the most part. You can see Raw almost able to steal those away. And honestly, BigManTingz taking a big chunk of his health. You can see about a third of it just from a single ultimate. If I'm Paradigm, I'm really looking to kind of bait BigManTingz into forcing the fights. I almost would like to see Trixtank kind of put himself out of position and say, ult me.
I think BigManTingz has done a very good job so far of keeping up an experience. After going down for first blood, he's soaking a lot. The team are helping him out to keep him at a viable level. As you see the Hunters as well. Look at the player damage between the two. So respectful of each other. They're both avoiding the poke and just looking to farm, realizing...
We've seen this a lot from Hunters, especially in Europe. They both seem to really want to focus on the mid-game team fights and kind of getting full build for the late game. And both of these players honestly have kill potential, but the problem is, if they both full commit, it's going to be in favor of Funballer, because Funballer is going to be able to rewind, reset himself to 8 seconds ago, and it's not something that Realzx really wants to deal with. Realzx has always been the guy, if he thinks a fight is free, he'll take it, but if not, he's going to farm, because coming into late game, he is one of the powerhouses in Europe, really controls the pace of the fight, and FNATIC relied on him in a lot of scenarios last year. I don't know, man.
Going back to base here, you don't know.
I know what you're. I know what he's going for, but like Xaliea just says, hey, meta, I don't care. Electing to go into more than likely the Stone Cutting Blade, which is going to give him 50 power, 10 movement speed. And as he auto-attacks, he's going to gain physical protection. It's going to make that big baby even more of a nuisance.
And also reduce physical protection to the enemy
as
team as well, which will help against multiple targets. Allow Odin to do a little bit more burst as well, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. 9 minutes in, it's only been 1 kill so far. On to BigManTingz.
This is a FNATIC game. No one fights. They actually had the longest first blood in SPL history, 22 minutes.
I was going to say 22.
I think it was against Paradigm. I could be wrong.
That was a good knock-up from Xaliea, though. It was going to force Jiffy's ultimate more than not. Obviously, catching him in the knock-up just as the hammer comes out means that he can't teleport to it. So Jifffy forced to ult, which means it could be an opportunity for Paradigm to look for some aggression, maybe at the Gold Fury here.
And you can already see that they're heading over there. Funballers lining up as well. Xaliea does have teleport, but maniaKK does as well. And now Paradigm, they're going to be starting it up, but FNATIC have smelled it out. And Trixtank actually jumps on top of the Gold Fury, and now they're going to back up as Athena all comes crashing down.
maniaKK does come in with the ultimate there.
Oh,
as well.
Xaliea
on the back, he's getting some great damage off. Zyrhoes gets sniped and then hit with the back of the boomerang from Xaliea, so he's evaporated already. Now Funballer's also going to keep going aggressive as well, with the rest of his team allowing Qvo to pick up Realzx, and they're looking for BigManTingz.
BigManTingz, nowhere to go, no blink. He's going to be slowed. There's the jump forward. Funballer finds that one. A 4-for-0 trade in favor of Paradigm. Gold Fury going to go uncontested unless Jifffy can have a miracle steal.
Xalia's teleport into the back line there. The ward was deep at the boars. The back boars is where the ward was, and that just set him up with that. He hit the whole team.
And then he knocked them up after that, and then Zyrhoes with a perfect snipe. Xaliea only needs a single shot to take out, I believe it was Realzx or Zyrhoes at the start of that fight. Oh, excuse me, the Lawbster fired the ultimate. And just look at that, 4-0 in kills, 50 gold only picked up by FNATIC. Oh, I thought that was damage. I thought they did 50 damage at first.
2,000 experience lead off that one engagement, and 1,000, just under 1,200 gold.
That's not even including the Gold Fury afterwards.
That's just a team fight in itself. Really good situation for Paradigm. Escalated themselves into a fantastic opportunity here in FNATIC. Well, they're on the back foot, and when we look towards mid to late game, the scaling of this team, not bad, but if they fall behind, engage is going to be difficult.
It'll be really rough for them, and I think Paradigm, now that they have a lead, they were very timid to try and force anything. until they actually knocked Jifffy and baited out his ultimate because of Xalia's rotation. But now that they have this lead, they have starting to hit some power spike items. You can see power boots finished for Lawbster, stone cutting sword online for Xaliea. I really do expect them to start forcing a couple more engagements, or honestly look to bait Jiffy's ultimate out again. And once again, Jifffy, so far a non-factor. We've seen now 3 games in a row, 2-1 FNATIC, or 2 versus Dignitas, and now 1 versus Paradigm, where he actually tries to gank at level 4, unsuccessfully steals a little bit of farm, and he's kind of just wandering, it seems.
But he's not had an opportunity to really find anything. I mean, you can see he's looking for farm the whole time, but there's not really a situation that's created itself as we tune over to the right-hand side. And we actually speak about Xaliea here as well. Who's going to kill Xaliea? Who?
Honestly,
no
Soul,
one.
Maybe.
No one's going to kill Xaliea.
Maybe Soul.
That's my concern with this
Chiron
comp right now, is that
late game.
how are you going to shut down the Vamana?
I mean, not anytime soon. He doesn't have a ton of protections or health, right? He only has the 75 coming out from Breastplate, and then he'll have some once he gets some auto attacks off with Stone Cutting Sword, but he doesn't have any health to his base. So if you can find the burst, or honestly look to pick up a Weakening Curse, some form of anti-healing, he will fall. But the problem is that's a lot to commit to a fed baby. And FNATIC, you take a look at the levels, most of their carries are at least 1 to 2 levels behind, and if Xaliea can find himself another couple levels ahead, I mean, FNATIC aren't going to be able to fight him until the game goes 30 minutes.
Really farming as much as he can. Xaliea denying as much experience from maniaKK as possible, taking the imps wherever possible, as well as maniaK's Boar. Back in the mid lane, 3 members of FNATIC here to clear this next wave out at the moment, but the heals from Rebel slow down for a second or two. There's not much they can really do right now until level 12 is what I'm looking at here. Keep an eye out for when BigManTingz hits that level 12, because that will be a sign for go with those blinks being available.
If he elects to go into that, but Paradigm may not even give him the chance. QvoFred going to be looking to invade into the jungle.
They're going to be
off the mark.
Harpies, they will take the back harpies away there. I don't think Zyrhoes managed to confirm those ones. So all good for Paradigm. On the left-hand side, they're looking for Funballer. Feeling himself
just
a little
throwing
bit.
some poke.
Just forcing Reels back.
But look at this, the rotation coming out from Jifffy, and he could look to ult here, but Funballer is pretty far back, and Jifffy just going to walk in, soak some experience, and walk back. That could have been an instance where they set up for a gank. They had the ward control, they had a sentry there. Funballer had no idea where Jifffy was, but continuing to play this very passive style, and Funballer actually going to catch him out in the jungle. Double tap is going to connect, but Funballer doesn't care. He's chasing out 2 players.
He just laughed there. Going to walk back into Reels in the jungle there, trade off, and don't laugh too much, Funballer, because you ate some more poke then for free.
The thing with Accelerate, though, is that you have a heal in your kit that it can pop, and I believe it's 1 or 2% every second. It's not that much, but you pop it twice, and that's 25% of your life back.
Attempt for maniaKK on this right-hand side here. 4 members of Paradigm grouped in this right-hand side. maniaKK in an awkward position, going to get flopped and belched and knocked up and ringed and then evaporated by the team before he can get his ultimate off. And that's the power of an Odin there for me more than anything else against an Athena.
And Paradigm are doing a really good job of abusing their lead. They're not trying to take 2v2 or 3v3 fights. They're taking the numbers advantage. Funballer deals with 2 players over on the left-hand side, 4 members of Paradigm. They group up and find the pick, steal away a buff, and then take a tower. They're playing a very good and safe team game. They're not getting over aggressive. They're not trying to take unnecessary risks. They're just playing very calculated, and they're extending their gold lead now to about 6,000.
I mean, looking at this first game, for me, it's picks and bans. When you come back to it, when you just look at both these 2 rosters on paper, I'm quite happy with the composition that if I'm Paradigm here that I'm going up against. I feel like you've got my
the problem for me
picks.
with FNATIC is in the past 2, even against Dignitas, right? They have these double globals. Triple global sometimes. I believe they ran the Athena and the Thor, but we're not seeing them try and force early picks. They're not trying to force early engages. It seems like they're just allowing the other teams to dictate the pace of the game. They're playing reactively instead of forcing issues. And honestly, this is the same style that they played last year as well. And while it was successful last year, now you have 2 new members. It really seemed like FNATIC was trying to switch up their styles, gives themselves an aggressive jungler, but they haven't yet adopted that style, or they're a little scared. And I think this could still be Jifffy a little bit nervous.
Looks like a learning start to the season for FNATIC, at least in this game 1 of Monday Night Smite. We'll see how it continues, though, because at the moment, everything's looking good for Paradigm. The Gold Fury is available once again, so just keep an eye on them going for that as we're watching Xaliea once again. Not necessarily manhandle maniaKK, but just dominate the lane.
I mean, it hasn't even been anything that maniaK's really been able to deal with. This is just a win for Vamana in the direct matchup. Athena really struggles to clear early, and she's kind of just looking to ult over into these mid-game team fights. The problem is that Xalia's rotations have been phenomenal. First, he finds Jifffy in the jungle about 6 minutes ago, pokes him out, forces his ult, and what that does is it allows Paradigm to rotate over and force the Gold Fury fight. Then once it happens, Xaliea has a perfect teleport under the team, comes in, really disrupts everyone. It's chaos for FNATIC. They're forced out, and then Paradigm find kind of that 4K gold lead, and since then, they've just played a very smart game, finding pickoffs, and now Gold Fury. That's their next target. You can already see Vamana has rotated over.
Paradigm, though, one of the only on-roster changed lineups this season coming in. Them and Pantera, the only two that didn't make any changes after the previous season. Jeffy's going up, though, because they know the Gold Fury has been started. He's been spotted, and immediately,
Baited.
Paradigm back out.
Just calculated play coming out from Paradigm. They're playing so well. Now Thor ult, not going to be an impact.
I'm talking about Paradigm again. Look at the KDA of these teams. The assists is the big key here. As Ton from maniaKK does connect with Funballer, who uses Purification response. QvoFred zoning out the rest of the team. Jifffy under pressure here. They know he's not got an ultimate away as he jumps to the hammer. BigManTingz with the no escape, pulling them in. Not really, though. They're still in an awkward position. Cubo's got to die here. No, Shield will save him. maniaKK might be able to find the return to kill with the taunt. Will not find it. Trixtank takes out Realzx, and Funballer's beating down maniaKK.
maniaK's as good as dead. Does manage to dash away, and it doesn't seem like Paradigm are going to be able to close the gap, but they're 5 strong over the wall, just barely off the mark. And Paradigm, they're going to walk away with 2 kills, not losing a single member, and they have the raw heal to keep them full. Gold Fury, they're not even worried about it. They're looking for kills. BigManTingz in a lot of trouble. Time stop, jump in. Funballer locks him down. Zyrhoes will be stunned out, but Paradigm, they're going to head over to that Gold Fury, not trying to chase kills, and I mean, just pure calculated play from them.
I mean, maniaK's alive, no ultimate, no teleport available. Zyrhoes isn't going to be able to contest without his ultimate now, so we're just going to continue farming. And as we were saying, look at the participation in kills here between these two teams.
It's just,
I mean, obviously, these two
phenomenal.
teams in Paradigm, basically, look at that. There's so many members that have been involved in every single one of these kills. It shows these guys are all on the same page this season. And a lot of people expected them to do very well, be top 4, if not top 2. Well, it's looking good so far.
8,600 gold lead right now. Xaliea 305. We have Trixtank at 207 and QvoFred at 108. Those 3 members have been a part of every single kill outside of Xaliea, who I think is 1 short. But just Xaliea right now for me is spreading this map. And honestly, in that last engagement, QvoFred's cage was phenomenal. Actually completely split up FNATIC. There was 2 members trapped on the left-hand side in the dual lane. There was another 2 members trapped in the jungle, and there was 1 guy up top, and that was maniaKK. And all of Paradigm, excuse me, all of FNATIC were all split up. Paradigm were fighting as a unit. They're able to successfully find kills, reset the fight, heal up with Raw, pick up BigManTingz as well, and the Gold Fury. And now Xaliea, he didn't have a lot of health. He didn't have a lot of protections, but he's finished his bulwark, and now he has both of those.
And now he's also working towards Fatalis here by the looks of it as well, so just to go along with it. Gets on under the tower, but he's not really worried about that, is Xaliea right now. He's still quite happy to farm up at level 18 with a 2-level lead over maniaKK. He's going to force, I was going to say he's forced a rotation from FNATIC, but no Paradigm are looking for maniaKK again.
He's knocked up, and he's going to be knocked up again. Here's Odin, nowhere to go. maniaKK, as good as dead. He's going to pop his sprint, run in circles, but it's just a matter of time. Jifffy lands in, and now the rest of FNATIC are coming underneath, but this is a 4v3. This is not in their favor right now, and Jifffy just getting CC'd so much. And look at this, Trixtank intoxicate just to zone out 2 members of FNATIC, and now BigManTingz knocked up as well. Xaliea going to slow him, but they're going to turn their attention to that tier 1 tower.
That's twice Xaliea has found the knock up the moment we see Jifffy go for the hammer to escape. Knocking him up, keeping him in place, and allowing his team to pick up their kill. Now they take the tier 1 tower, turn to the tier 2. There's not much that we can really see out of Ares and the Chiron to defend this one. They're going to have to give it up as well.
And Real's going to try and make a big play on a Funballer who's just going to rewind. Real's ult is down, and now Funballer, he's just keeping Real's busy. This is all Paradigm need from him. They have this 4v4 comp that's been winning, splitting the map, and Funballer just has to make sure that Real's can't be a part of these fights, because if Real's rotates, Funballer can either find him in the jungle and fight him because he's a couple levels ahead, or simply take the tower and the rest of Paradigm back off.
This is a very confident performance from Paradigm here.
They're looking very clean.
Very clean. I mean, at the moment, I would love to see them just face Pantera every single week, because I think those two right now, there would be some good games if they're both playing at this level.
We'll have to see. This is Paradigm's first showing. First game, they're currently up 11,600 gold. And honestly, only 3 towers down 21 minutes in. I mean, they've just controlled every facet of this game, from the lanes to map pressure to objective control. And now 5 members. You can see Xaliea level
Just roaming
20.
There's
no reason not to. BigManTingz is dead.
Well, there's the pick.
He's dead.
They were looking for it. They find it. They get a flop. And who's getting the kill? It's going to be Funballer. He'll pick it up and also take away the balls as well. Realzx can only stand by and watch there. There's not a whole lot he could do on that one. There's one benefit.
This teleport. Oh, a teleport for maniaKK. He's in trouble. Xaliea tried to knock him up, but
there's
maniaKK
one small hope for FNATIC, and it's a very small hope, but if they do find some kills here, they're worth a lot of gold, these boys of Paradigm right now.
Trixtank, though, going to try and make sure that doesn't happen. There's a jump in. Jifffy's going to take to the sky. Trixtank is low, but the heal from Raw is going to be good. Jifffy's going to land down into 5 members. He's going to be surrounded. Athena ult on top of him, but Xaliea is just ripping through the backline. Surrender vote actually started, and look at this. Realzx getting chased into his own Phoenix.
So strong right now is Xaliea and the boys of Paradigm. They're looking for a Phoenix now. They won't even need to get to a Phoenix. FNATIC call it a day. Shutout in that first Monday Night Smite game.
22 minutes, 12-0. Paradigm looking incredibly confident and clean. FNATIC looks like they're going to have a rough start to this
Picks
split.
and bans for me was a big issue there.
I didn't understand. It was kind of hard to really understand what they were going for. They picked up the double globals as well as kind of the 2 hard carries in Chiron and Soul, but the problem is there was no pressure from them, and they kind of just allowed Paradigm to control them and invade their jungle.
The way picks and bans went for me that game, I felt like they picked Athena early. They didn't expect an Odin. Odin came out, and if you put Odin in the jungle for the side of Paradigm here, and you've got Athena and Chiron in mid all day, it's 3 rings. So I think what they ended up doing was putting Athena in solo, which wasn't their original plan, I want to say. And then they brought in Ares to try and mix it up a little bit.
We could see some Odin bans, but honestly for me it was Xaliea picking up first blood as well as a lot of highlight plays. We're going to take a quick look at that. And this was just, I believe
first
this
rotation.
Was the cage onto BigManTingz. Yeah, and he had nowhere to go.
This was just the first rotation from that lane. He managed to pick it up with the umbrella rang there. Picks up the kill, and the ring is just Paradigm grouping up time and time again.
These early tank boots, really surprising for me, but I mean, honestly, 30% CCR, it's very hard to kill a Vamana to begin with, and then when he's CC'd for a third less of a time, it's even harder to kill him, and Xaliea just kind of ran rampant, and honestly, there wasn't much BigManTingz could do in these fights. I mean, he's an Ares who got picked off for first blood against an Odin. He was just constantly abused and pressured, and then Paradigm, I think they only won 1 real team fight. Every other kill was simply picking off players in the jungle, and then FNATIC, they would rotate in.
Again, every single time Jifffy went for the hammer away, got knocked up. The big key for me with Xalia's, reinforced Greaves here that he picked up at the start of the game. I think it was a good call, but it's a situational one. We won't see him do this week in, week out. He knew he was in a positive lane matchup where he wasn't going to die. He didn't have to invest into more multi-potions and health potions where a lot of gold is wasted. Instead, he could just invest into full boots, get extra mobility early, and continue with the rest of his build as it goes on.
One of the things, too, as well, because he actually didn't build in a magical protection until later, which is the Bulwark, which is a pretty all-around encompassing item, is he's not really worried about Athena killing him, just the Athena damage. You have to think of it like this. Athena, her ult is actually not useful in her own lane most of the time. It's going to be more useful ganking other lanes, which means the only thing he has to worry about is Jifffy coming crashing down, and Jifffy took 0 trips over to that solo
He's not going to see Sol until later stages of the game anyway, so he's not going to really invest into the magical.
Really smart pickup from him.
Good build from Xaliea there, but his game